Well, with Tottenham on relegation watch, we've got no Max Simpson here with us today, but what we do have is some Phoenix Rising talk on a first pre-season friendly, the Open Cup, and of course, a little bit of darts. Hello. It's Wednesday. We're coming towards the end of January. The season is around the corner. Welcome into the PHNX Rising Show. Coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. I'm Owen. This is Rees. There's no Max. Why is there no Max today, Rees?
Because Tottenham are going to get relegated from the Premier League. That's why.
It's what I'm hearing. Yeah. It's what I'm hearing.
Or he's on vacation.
We got Kyle behind the mat. Kyle, you hearing the same as we are?
Yeah, he's been pretty absent since Tottenham's kind of going down.
I mean, they kind of
they might be relegated.
It's not looking good. Aren't they the 19th team in the league form-wise at the moment?
Yeah,
it's looking rough
for them. Yeah, 15th place, 8 points clear of the relegation zone. I mean, you know what Ange said. Ange said he always wins things in his second season, and he's going to win him a place in the championship. Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Now they're probably a little bit too clear there, I think, to be in real danger. But you never know. You never know. Weirder things have happened. We do have a lot of things to talk through today that don't involve bullying Max Simpson in particular and bullying Tottenham Hotspur as an extension of that. Of course, Phoenix Rising playing their first pre-season friendly of the season on the weekend. It was behind closed doors, so there's only so much that we really know out of it. But they did do that, going over to San Diego. Also a bit of Open Cup news that has come out. And of course, a signing that was made since last week as well. But Rees, I tell you what, let's start with the signing, actually, because we did speak a little bit about Ihsan Sacko. That one now confirmed as a signing. Just some thoughts on that one. I know we spoke about it last week, but...
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's a very interesting player. He's played in Europe, played with Nice in France, in Ligue 1. But it's kind of fell down from there, fell down the pyramid in France, was in the third division, then spent these last couple of years with FC Thun in the Swiss second division. I do think he's a very good player. I just don't know if he's a very good striker. There were times where he just hasn't been clinical throughout his career, but the creativity is there. The stats creatively jump off the charts, in my opinion. I mean, the chance creation, he's a good dribbler. But there, again, the times where he just has not been clinical at all. This past year with FC Thun, it's two goals in 9 matches, but that number sounds worse than it is for that time. He just wasn't getting the game time this past year, but I do think he's an interesting profile. I don't know if he's the main solution, though, at the number 9 position for Rising.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, between him and presumably Remi Cabral now, you have 2 number 9 players. Do you really, at this point, are they looking for someone else, do you think, at this point? I mean, there are other positions that they obviously need to look at bringing someone in for.
Yeah, I don't really think so. Again, the fullbacks is as a position of need. They probably need more depth at center back. So that's probably your main focus at this moment. I mean, I think if you're Rising, you're hoping that it's more the pedigree. You know, he played in Europe at the higher level, like I mentioned. You're kind of hoping that, he played at this higher level. He was okay there, but he's good in USL. I mean, we really don't know how the Swiss Challenge League translates to USL Championship. So I don't think this team will make another move at the striker position, but it's an interesting spot this team's put itself in.
It is. I mean, when we look then at other positions, obviously Phoenix Rising, we don't believe they are done adding players. We still believe there are a few left to join. But as you're thinking about this now and thinking about what kind of positions could come in. I mean, one of the ones that really leaps out to me, at least at this point, is centre back. It feels as though there's still a lot of room to add at that position, right? I know, yes, maybe we're expecting things to be a little bit different this time. Okay, maybe not play with that back five as they have done in prior seasons. Maybe we're going to see more of a back four, especially given that that's something that Pamadou Carr, Rising's new coach, has said. That, you know, his preferred, all things being equal, his preferred system is going to be a 4-3-3. You know, you have Pat Marboy there from last season. You have Mo Traore there from last season. One of the midfielders they picked up can also realistically do a role in the defense. But to me, that's probably at this point the number one aim.
Yeah, I mean, Sante and Okello, Carl Sante and Noble Okello can fit into that center back position, but I don't think that's one of your main options. Looking at his next pro time, I think Carl Sante would be the better option there. But again, if you're really going into next season with those as your main center back options, you're going to be, when a Gold Cup starts and that fixture congestion, there's going to be holes in the roster when those guys leave, because Carl Sante is a main feature in Haiti's squad. Again, though, center back, though, they need to find somebody, because last season, Mo Traore, he dealt with injuries. He missed significant time. There needs to be somebody there to fill in that hole if he does go down again. Yeah,
there does. And I mean, any other positions at this point, I mean, that you would really pick out as being ones that you think this team needs to focus on?
Fullbacks. Harvey Neville, Colin Smith are the probably main two faces that stick out there. Ryan Flood can service there. They just need depth there. I mean, Mo Traore can play as a left back too, but again, you need another center back then. I don't really know the type of profile you'd really go for, though, as the fullback, because, I mean, we've seen Harvey Neville, who is much more of an attacking option, which almost more of a wingback. So I think you want more of a defensive-based option there for your next fullback signing, but there needs to be at least one or two more additions there.
Yeah, I mean, the Harvey Neville one, again, look, we spoke about it last week, is one that really intrigues me, because he's a player who you don't necessarily look at as someone who is going to really fit the mold of a back four necessarily as a fullback, because he is very much more one of those players who is going to go forward, is going to attack, is going to whip crosses in, and you can't really have that kind of defensive optional fullback when you're playing a back four. You've actually got similar scenarios there in terms of Edgardo Rito. I feel is going to be an interesting one, right? He was described by John Morrissey, USL Tactics, as you know, kind of defense optional at times, and right, that's something that, yeah, it matches with what he was being asked to do last season. So it's not a critique on him necessarily.
Yeah.
But will he be able to step into that role? Is that his playing style? Is that something that he's got in his pocket that he can really, you know, kick on with and perform this season? Or is he going to look more like someone who'd play as perhaps more of almost a winger at times? It's going to be an interesting one. Now, there was a bit of action this past weekend. Phoenix Rising getting their preseason underway on the field with a behind closed doors match against San Diego FC. Phoenix traveling over to California for that one. And Rees, so far from what we can tell, looks as though San Diego scored at least 2 goals. Rising have only come out publicly with the one. In that one goal scored by Jill Margarita. You're obviously a big Margarita fan, so how much is that giving you at this point just confidence in what he's going to be this season? See him already scoring.
He was wearing the captain's armband too,
but only in the second half, to be clear, I think, and
yeah.
that's something we can talk a little bit more on. Or only at the time that he was, you know, video doing that, he was wearing the armband. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, again, who knows who the captain is really? Because we don't know who played in the first. We don't know who played in the second half really. Besides,
don't really know a whole lot of anyone who played at any point.
So we're just guessing here. But I mean, and the Gerald footage, the goal of the Gerald footage was in slow motion. So again, we're guessing on that goal. But I mean,
nice little jump cut in the middle as well.
Yeah. So. Who really knows how well the goal was scored? But I mean, it looks like a good finish, looks like a good run. I mean, he's looks like 5 yards ahead of most of the defenders. I'd love to know how he got into that position. Did someone play a ball from the back, or did he just beat someone with pace to get into that spot? Again, we don't know, so we're just guessing. But I mean, listen, Gerald was a guy who I famously have liked. I really do think he's going to be one of the best players in this squad for this season. We saw last season in times. I mean, he missed time due to international break, but we saw when he came in, it was just like that spark plug. I'm expecting him to really to carry that over the course of the season this year.
See, that's the intriguing thing here, is that the thing about these closed door friendlies, right, when they happen, is that we don't really know what's gone on there. The fans don't really know entirely what's gone on there. And yet, realistically, I guess the people you'd want to keep this away from, i.e. coaches at other parts of the league, probably have the connections to actually be able to know exactly what went on there. So, I don't know. I'm not always the biggest fan of these closed door friendlies. I'm not the biggest fan of friendlies in general. They can be quite boring at times. But there are a few more closed-door games coming up in the near future. Remember, Rising will be playing 2 games over in Coachella. They're going to be playing LAFC. They will be playing Charlotte FC. So 2 more MLS sides before they come back here. They'll have yet another closed-door friendly. They'll be playing against Phoenix College before things finally start opening up, with the season ticket holders able to go to watch Rising play against Lewis City 2. And then, of course, the one that's open to the public, including season ticket holders get it included, a Red vs. Black intra-squad friendly, which will also be when Phoenix Rising reveals their kits for the 2025 season. Now, you brought up Joel wearing the armband. One other player that we do know is wearing the armband was Pat My Boy earlier in the game. I mean, at this point, as we're looking at this team, it's really hard to pick out who exactly would be the captain, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Pop would probably be a front runner, but even then, how do you give a guy
he's so young?
Yeah, it's his second professional season. How do you give that the captain? I mean, but then again, on the other side, last season he really kind of became that leader on the back line. And with really so few returners that were key pieces. I mean, Renzo's not here. You look at some of the guys that did return, they haven't been here for that long. I mean, Pop My Boy is kind of one of the more tenured players in this squad. I mean, you look at, maybe you give it to Charlie Dennis, but just because he's more experienced. But I don't even know,
we don't know how he's going to fit into this squad right now. We don't know what kind of a role he's going to be playing. Exactly. I mean, there's so many players that we could say that about right now.
Yeah, like Emi Cuejo, how does he fit in?
I know, because he's one where, yes, people will say, well, you saw him in that fullback kind of role last year, but does that work in a back four? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many questions about this one. I mean, Pat My Boy, if he was to have the armband, bearing in mind, he's going to spend this entire season, he's going to be 21.
Wow.
He's still young. He's very young, and there has been interest from elsewhere in him. It'll be interesting to tell, because last year the club spent so long with the obvious appointed captain of John Stenberg out injured and not really available, and by the end of the year, not even around the team because he'd gone home to seek treatment. There's so much of that you kind of wonder, will they almost end up repeating that with certain players, if maybe they start off as starters and don't become starters by the end of the season? Because I don't really right now know exactly who's going to be starting, how these pieces are going to slot together, and there are so many different elements to it that there's just so many ways that this could possibly go at this point.
That's why I kind of think Pop My Boy is more of that front runner, just because I think he is one of the few players that is penciled in as a starter.
100%. He's one of the first names on the team sheet at the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't really know if there's many other guys you can say that for.
Not least because, I mean, Joel, for all of Joel's qualities, Joel is going to be missing for parts of this season, presumably due to the Gold Cup, due to other international duties. It's going to be a long, long season there.
Yeah, and then other guys, I mean, I just, there's so many young guys in this squad, too, from Next Pro that are making that jump. You don't want to give them the captain just because that's a lot to put on a guy. I think it has to be Pop, to be honest, now that I'm really thinking about it. It's going to be interesting, though. Is it more that captain by committee approach, or is it just Pop penciled in? It's going to be interesting to see what route Pamadou Ka goes with that.
Right, because I've even heard people suggest, well, what happened if you went with Patrick Rakowski there? And I don't know at this point if he's going to be starting. Yeah. That's a thing. It's really, really hard to tell. So not entirely sure what is going to be the plan long term with those, but still we've got little bits, not a whole lot from this past week on the Phoenix Rising front, because it's just been one of those weeks, right? You sign a player that everyone was expecting, you play a behind closed doors friendly, and that's kind of about
Yeah.
I mean, Phoenix Rising, what a week they've had. Well done. Give them a round of applause. When we come back, we do have some news. And that news is going to be a little bit about the Open Cup, which is being confirmed the format for the coming season. But first, we've got to talk to you about Waymo. And Reese, you've been in a Waymo recently.
I have.
You have. It's always, you know what, they're definitely a very comfortable ride. I'll say that one, right? All modern cars, these Jaguars, you see them around everywhere, don't you? They are all over the place. They actually, at the moment, by the way, 150,000 trips per week across San Francisco, LA, and Phoenix. That's a lot. That's a lot. But in fact, catch Waymos quite a bit, actually, over in Tempe. We're inside their service area, and yeah, a lot easier than certain other options. And it's always, just a comfortable ride. Where you're going. You can get them to the Phoenix Rising game. They're a proud partner of Phoenix Rising as well. Did you know that, Reese?
I did not know that.
You did not know that? Well, they keep posting the videos.
I actually
the Lawrence White video.
I do remember
the
that
day
now.
before Lawrence White
I
left.
do remember that. Yeah.
I know. They were driving Lawrence White to the airport, which you can go to the airport.
I did, yeah.
In Waymo. I've done that multiple times
I came back
as well.
From the Big
and you can catch them over to
Championship and won. I fell asleep in it too.
I tell you what, I wouldn't fall asleep in a Waymo, but you could.
I did because I slept for like an hour that night.
Go ahead, download the Waymo One app today. You can sleep like Reese and ride today. And of course, make sure to check out our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. The big game's coming up. You can score more than just touchdowns to give you a chance to win $5.9 million with their free prop play. So it's open now through February 8th. Go ahead, visit GilaPropPlay.com. You answer 26 questions about the big game for your shot at the grand prize. Here's the deal. It is free to play, free to make your big game predictions. You can cash in on instant wins, scoring instant prizes from $5 to $100 in free bonus play while you play. And of course, that grand prize, $5.9 million. If you answer all 26 questions correctly, you can win that $5.9 million jackpot. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit play@gila.com for more details. I'll check out the link in the description below. Right. Reese, we've got Open Cup news coming up.
I'm glad to see it back.
I'm glad to see it back.
I always get worried about the Open Cup every offseason.
After what happened last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was a bit of a nightmare, wasn't it? But there are changes to the Open Cup format this year. Obviously, this came out last week because, thank you, Phoenix Rising, for the incorrectly sent press release that came out several days earlier than US Soccer posted it. But that did mean that PHNX Rising got an exclusive.
I love to see it. Love to see it.
We love to see it. We love to see it. We'll talk a little bit about the format now, actually. Let's have a look at what is going on with the format here in the Open Cup. So, the lowest 8 USL Championship teams, they're going to enter in the first round. They enter in that along with USL League One, MLS Next Pro, and the Open Division. And the top USL Championship teams and the 16 remaining ones, we're going to enter in the third round. So that will include Phoenix Rising. They made the playoffs last year, so they will enter in the third round. There are 16 teams from Major League Soccer will compete in this edition. That's up from 8 last time. They will join in the last 32, so that is the fourth round here. So an increase in teams from Major League Soccer, Reese, good thing?
I think so. I mean, I always like to see the MLS teams travel to the USL games. I mean, it's not quite the same as, when the Premier League sides travel down to like the League 2, League 1 sides in the FA Cup, but there's still that cup set, that cup magic in the US Open Cup. I'm always glad to see the MLS teams come into it because the next pro sides in it last year, I know there's still some this year, but the ones in it last year, it just wasn't the same. I mean, El Farolito beat Portland Timbers 2 in front of about 25 people, if that. And El Farolito's Open Cup matches should be played in front of tens of thousands, not 25.
You're a big El Farolito guy.
Who isn't?
I mean, we ate
the
El
Burrito
Farolito
Brava.
when we went up there.
We did.
The Burrito Bravas. Yeah. I agree, right? It's important. I think that all MLS teams should be competing. Clearly, we're not in that position because MLS is doing what MLS does and kind of refusing otherwise to take part as fully as they should. I also think it's incredibly disappointing that neither the defending champions of the Open Cup nor the champions of MLS are going to compete in this edition, right? I think that's an important part that should be there. Last year, the defending champions were playing in the Open Cup, and I think that's something that should realistically be happening again. Again, they are prioritizing Leagues Cup. I don't agree with that. I don't think many people do agree with that. No. We could beat this one to death because no one really enjoys, I think, the way that MLS has been trying to pull out of the Open Cup, but at the same time, it is what it is. I'm intrigued. I also am intrigued by the fact that certain teams are having to enter at the first round, even from USL Championship.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by it. I mean, it's really.
I think it's just the way you make the numbers work out.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I mean, it is also kind of like the 8 worst USL Championship teams besides like Birmingham Legion. I mean, like Loudoun, Miami, Monterey Bay, Tulsa's all in that group, so it's not like you're losing some like great sides. No offense to any of them.
I feel sorry, by the way, for whoever draws Birmingham Legion, given that they are really investing this off season. If you're an amateur team coming against Ronaldo Damas and Danny Trejo, and Pasha as well, that's going to be quite a scary one.
It is Pro V amateur sides, right? In the first round?
It will be. So the first round will be entirely professional teams against open division teams. Various ones who've qualified. That will include, by the way, another Arizona side in FC Arizona, who are in the Open Cup this year. They qualified through their performance in NPSL last season. Besides that, it's the usual suspects. A lot of them, El Faradizo are back in the tournament this year. So let's have a look actually at Phoenix Rising's campaign, what we're expecting this upcoming season. They're going to start, as we said, in the third round. They will play, because we know this, because of the way that the draws are going to be set up, against a winner from the second round. So teams can't play other teams that are entering in the same round as them, given that half the teams in the third round will be new entrants. They can't draw another USL Championship side outside of those 8 that enter in the first round. Phoenix Rising will play away from home. We know that because of the nature of this draw. They've decided the top 8 teams from USL Championship will host, so the other 8 will be away from home. The only way that may not be the case would be in some scenario whereby there weren't enough second-round entrants to host. The game's going to be played April 15th or 16th, and if Rising win, they will be guaranteed to face an MLS side in the following round. Now, Rees, this obviously puts a bit more pressure on, it's hard to say anything more than win one game at this point and expect anything more than that, given the nature of the fact that they're going to have to then, if they do win, play an MLS team in the next round. But what are your expectations at this point for the Cup?
I mean, I'm looking at the teams in it. I'm assuming the draw is going to be like regionalized into groups, like how it has been over these last few years.
Yeah, I mean, the early rounds sometimes are not fully drawn out. It's not clear, I think, quite how that formatting is going to work, but we'll see how it goes.
So, I mean, just some of those kind of West Coast cities. I mean, El Paso. Do you want another fixture with El Paso, the 4th one of the season?
I mean, it could happen. I mean, the one bit of good news, they can't draw New Mexico until the last 16. And that's always one that's annoying. Sacramento, another team, this team always seems to play a lot. Las Vegas, that's not going to happen. There will be opportunities perhaps for a rematch with Real Monarchs. That one's an interesting one if that were to happen. Team that Rising obviously played many times back in the days that they were in USL Championship. Of course, lost to them in the playoffs. When Monarchs came down here in 2019. There will be some other new teams that are starting to pop up as well, such as Alta, based in Lancaster over in California. There are other teams too that you may see. Tacoma Defiance, there's another one that obviously familiar to Phoenix Rising. I mean, even other ones there in terms of Washington Athletic Club, Ballard FC, all of these squads down there. Now, obviously, a bit of disappointment I see in the chat there from people who obviously wanted a home game for this one. It's unfortunate it's not going to happen, I don't think, realistically. I mean, there are other opportunities Rising could play against Ventura County, LAFC 2, Laguna United FC from UPSL. Of course, they could play against FC Arizona if they make it that far.
That would be
FC Arizona away.
Where do they play?
I don't know because it tends to change. But Campo Verde High School.
Interesting.
What an away day that would be. It brings back memories of Sporting Arizona in 2018, which I believe was at Mesa Community College. And Rising lost that game on penalties.
That would be very interesting to see if that happened. But I mean, I think we talked about it last season too, is just get through that first match and get to playing the MLS side. I mean, Rising, obviously, that last year it was away to North Carolina, went to extra time in a very, very weird match. That one was. And then that one got lightning delayed, didn't it? There was like something weird happening there.
Some very, very
and there was
weird,
like down to 10 men, and it was just ridiculous. And then
10v10.
Yeah.
White was red a lightning card, delay as well. Yeah.
And then the match against Seattle where Rising led for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I mean, playing an MLS side is I think it's one of the cooler things about this competition. And if Rising get the chance to do that, I mean, you got to hope they can finally draw an MLS team at home. I feel like people have been asking that for years, and Rising just
they haven't done it since 2014.
Yeah.
It was against LA Galaxy back in 2014 when they were Arizona United and it was in Peoria. Yeah. It's been a long time.
I mean, it would just like it feels like every year Rising either just don't get far enough, or they come up against that New Mexico, Sacramento that we talked about and fall. Then I want to see a cup run once in my life with Rising, because Sacramento's cup run a few years ago, New Mexico's in their expansion season, but obviously Sacramento bowed out in the final, and New Mexico, I can't remember what round they went out in, but they lost to Minnesota. I think it was like 7-0, but quarterfinal was it? Yeah. But I mean, those runs they're exciting. They're fun to watch. I just want to see that with Rising at least once. I do
want to give a shout out, by the way, to Washington Athletic Clubs. They actually play in a league called Seattle Recreational Adult Team Soccer, and they Rats. Yeah,
that's where Sharktopus
used to play in Rats. I don't think they do anymore, but they did. They did at the time that Sharktopus FC became famous for their attempt at qualifying for the US Open Cup. They were playing in Rats, up in Seattle. So that's an interesting one.
Sharktopus.
This is going to be... This is going to be, I think, an interesting season just in terms of, can Rising... they're probably going to be favoured in their first game. They're probably going to be playing a lower division team again. In a way that they didn't last season with the shortened system, whereby they ended up being pushed on to the fourth round, and it's one of those ones where I think now, as you look at it from Phoenix Rising's perspective, there's a real chance to push yourself on to play an MLS team again. You will be given the opportunity to be drawn at home potentially against such an MLS team, because again, half of the MLS teams will be home, half will be away. You're practically at a coin flip, which is something that we haven't seen in recent years as much. And this was a change that was made deliberately to try and make sure that more lower-seeded teams, lower league teams will get the opportunity to host those kind of games. And I just think it could be a really interesting setup.
I mean, do you think it's still going to be that same thing where teams apply to host, and then there's going to be some, and then they'll have to...
because there'll be some teams that aren't able to host. Yeah.
So, I mean,
get the envelopes out.
Yeah.
Get David Applegate out with his envelopes.
I absolutely love watching that draw on YouTube when they shuffle up the envelopes and they just pick one out. It's just the best thing. It's like in a tiny room. There's 3 people in there. It's just, I remember the one year they had an Inter Miami fan and a Miami FC fan, and the Inter Miami fan used to be a Miami FC fan. I mean, it was just amazing. This is what we do it for. This is what the Open Cup's all about. These envelope draws. I just miss it. I miss it. I cannot wait.
The Miami FC fan that's not a Miami FC fan. I mean, it does tell you something about Miami FC, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
It's not a good look.
No.
But it's something that you only get in the Open Cup.
Exactly.
The Open Cup.
Miami United's back, too.
Miami United's back after the controversy last season. There are a few teams that are back. There are a few teams. I mean... Who's your pick, then? Who's the lower league team that's going to go further? This open division. Give me an open division team.
Ballard's
Can we give a shout out actually to also one of the most successful teams in the Open Cup are going to be playing back in the Open Cup. And it's the New York Pan-Cyprian Freedoms.
What is it? 6-time champions?
6-time Open Cup champions. Yeah.
Wild.
Qualifying from the Eastern Premier Soccer League. This is what it's for. This is what it's for. But who do you think is going to go furthest?
Ballard from League Two.
Ballard, a good shout.
They took Spokane to that was a very good match, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Went down to that last minute goal for Spokane.
FC Motown have done well in the past as well.
Yeah, they're always in there.
Demon's Menace.
Yeah, because I mean, you wonder if they're going to do that same thing they pulled last year, where they just signed a bunch of retired MLS players and then went on a run.
You have to imagine that Ventura County Fusion are going to be drawn against Ventura County FC. That'll be an intriguing one to me. It will be of sorts. And that'll be interesting to me to see what exactly happens in that one and how that one plays out. FC Arizona, maybe, you never know.
Tulsa Athletic,
Tulsa Athletic
on that
always
terrible pitch in the middle of the public
but they always
park.
seem to have a shot at getting things done. They're a team that always get up for the cup.
Did they beat Tulsa a few years ago? FC Tulsa?
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Well, they will be playing now between the 18th to the 20th of March. That's when the cup is going to get underway. And again, we'll include another Arizona team in FC Arizona. We'll have to see how they do, see if they make it to the third round and may play Phoenix Rising at the end of it when we come back from the break. We'll be talking about some other things to do with football. There's quite a bit that's been going on. I'm sure Rees has got some comments, maybe some jibes at Tottenham to make as usual.
Who doesn't?
But first, we're missing Max at the moment, and rumor has it that Max is out because he's too busy at home enjoying a bit of Magic Marker. It's a True Leave exclusive here in the Valley, brought to you by our friends at Cult Cannabis. They brought a huge variety of premium flower up to True Leave. Max, I know he raves about this, doesn't he, Kyle? He really does.
He won't stop talking about it.
He won't stop talking about it, which is why I personally think right now that he's probably at home with a bit of Magic Marker, don't you?
Yeah, probably.
That would make sense. I mean, great flower is hard to find these days. Luckily, our friends at Cult Cannabis have been dropping absolute fire here. Max has been claiming as much of it for himself as he possibly can, which is pretty standard for Max here. But other people have been able to get in there as well here at the PHNX studios and now at your local True Leave as well, including, of course, the True Leave exclusive Magic Marker strain. Make sure to check out True Leave. Now find their local locations to pick up some of that Cult Cannabis. And of course, make sure to check out Circle K if you haven't already done so. Circle K, America's thirst stop.
We love it.
We don't have Max here to do the whole like chuck food
so
in his mouth
not be
thing.
doing that.
I know we don't. We're not going to be able to do that. But of course,
do that?
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to do it. I'm not weird like that. Max may be craving some shrimp pizza as well there, James. You can't get that at Circle K because they don't serve disgusting things at Circle K. But you do have these snacks that you see that side there, right behind me. Join the inner circle. Download the app for free today. You can enter your email and phone number to be fully enrolled. All you have to do then, put your phone number in at the pump to get deals 25 cents per gallon on the first 5 fill-ups and 3 cents per gallon every day thereafter, as well as other member exclusive deals, including deals they've had on those Polar Pops recently as well. So make sure to join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Right. Rees, we've got to talk any other business now on football. Let's go. What have you got? What have you got for me?
Anything in the world.
Anything in the world. I want to know, what is the big thing in football right now in your mind?
Probably just today, Champions League.
Champions League. There we go. We're getting some Champions League talk. How are we feeling about
matches in one day.
Lots of football.
Beauty. Arsenal finished third after a 2-1 win against Girona. I mean, listen, Arsenal, I have my thoughts, but for a team that scored 16 and only conceded 3 through 8 matches, it felt like there were a lot of lackluster performances, I'm not going to lie. But you take it, you move. Man City unfortunately won today. They were on the verge of going out in the league stage. We would have been there. We would have.
Would have been there?
Club Brugge went up 1-0 right before halftime. Then City scored 3, which is lame, but... So they go through. What other Villa won. Let's see. What other ones were there? Juve 2-0 loss to Benfica.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are your thoughts on the Champions League format, that league phase?
I still don't really like it. It feels a bit weird to me. I don't know. I don't like the big table.
Yeah, I like it because I like the concept, but I think there's the way the draw is. I mean, I don't like not playing like the same teams as your opponents do. But
I think that's something though that really plays into it for me. Is I also like the nature of it being home and away.
Yeah.
It also gives you the idea of you go and have if you have a really exciting, perhaps a little bit edgy game between sides the first time they play, you're going to have to play them again, and that can really be I think a big part of it. I don't know. It's just a lot of I don't know. It's not right to me. It's not right to me.
Yeah, there were. I mean, they kind of said that it was going to lead to like more drama on the final day, but there were really like only 2 matches that really mattered, which was the City Bruges, which was winning you're in, but Bruges ended up qualifying with Stoff how points won, and then the Stuttgart. Who did they play? PSG, that one, and then PSG won that. Those two were just fighting for playoff places, so like that might not even mean anything by the end of the day, or by the end of the playoff round. I like the idea, but I just feel like it was kind of wrapped up early, I thought, which was kind of the point, not of getting rid of the group stage, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like sometimes, especially with that, when it's I don't know. It still doesn't quite sit right to me. But of course, there'll be another big league phase coming up to a conclusion shortly as well, isn't it? It's not just the Champions League.
Oh, European Conference?
European Conference.
How's Spurs doing in that?
Spurs are
6th in Europa League.
Mm-hmm.
United's 4th in Europa League.
I know. I mean, they'll be through. They'll be through on that. I mean, they wish they were 6th in the Premier League, but they're going to have to take it against Steaua Bucharest and the likes. The Europa League will be finishing up tomorrow. Let's have a look at some of those games that are coming up in that one. One of the interesting ones there, FC20 against Besiktas. How do we feel?
They've got Besiktas has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now, so that could be interesting there. But they're right on the verge of So that one's pretty much.
I mean, that's 2 teams that are realistically fighting for a chance to get into the next round potentially. Besiktas currently occupy the final place in the Europa League, qualification to the that kind of playoff round that they've got between the league phase and the last 16. FC20 just outside. They're currently 2 points behind. Tottenham, he brought them up. They're playing Elfsborg at home. Should they win that one?
They should, but it is also Tottenham. So
it is also Tottenham Hotspurs. So I mean, you never quite know with that, do you? Some other ones there of interest. Porto traveling to face Maccabi Tel Aviv. Both of those sides on the outside looking in. Maccabi Tel Aviv probably done, but could be playing for pride here. FC Porto, they're going to need a result to give themselves a chance at making it out of the league phase. We'll give a shout out as well to Thai man Jake Anderson, who I'm sure is eagerly awaiting, and by eagerly awaiting I mean absolutely breaking it for Roma's game tomorrow as well, where Roma will be hosting Eintracht Frankfurt, one of the best teams so far in the league phase. They currently sit 2nd behind Lazio. Roma, again, they're on 9 points, but teams breathing down their neck on 8, 7, 6. You need a result for them, at least a draw probably to help see them through. Any other games you pick out of that Europa League lineup?
No, I think I didn't realize the Conference League already finished their league phase. They only play 6 there. I didn't realize that.
They play a shortened.
Yeah. Because I was hoping my mighty TNS would go through to the playoff.
No.
They picked up 3 points, which is actually, that's very impressive. That's 3 more than I think they...
It is. I'd like to, you know what, since you guys love talking about Wrexham, should I bring them up?
I didn't even bring them up.
Yeah, because they lost. They lost yesterday. They lost 3-2 to Stevenage. So they're actually 6 points behind the promotion places at the moment.
Well,
they're on bad form at the minute. They're not on as bad a form as Swansea. Swansea are on terrible form.
what is this? There, Wrexham is 8 points clear of still being in the playoffs. So
Yeah, I mean, they'll make the playoffs. The playoffs are
playoff.
not an easy one to get out
No.
of. Playoffs are a difficult end-of-season proposition. Remember, only one of the teams out of 4 will actually make it through.
I trust that mighty Wrexham will
I
get
don't know if they will right now, the way they're playing at the moment. Of course, still a couple of weeks away from FA Cup around the corner. There's a lot of stuff going on.
How's Cardiff doing?
We are actually in reasonable shape at the minute. Our form's not been too bad. We're unbeaten so far this calendar year. So the gap is growing slightly between us and the relegation zone, given it felt like at one point it was pretty much dead men. There have been a couple of signings that have come in, one from Ajax in the midfield, a new forward as well. So, I think it's quite interesting. We'll see how that goes, but lots of stuff going on around the world in football, isn't there?
There is. I mean,
we got to talk to you about the. I know you're a big fan of January camp for the US men's national team. Rees, give me your lowdown.
Who isn't? Well, players got called up and they played.
Great insight. Thank you, Rees.
Well, I mean, it was kind of a weird squad. I mean, I feel like with January camps, I feel like if you're an established player or a guy that's older, in the case of Tim Ream, who is 37, I don't think you should be called up to these camps. Like, I feel like you're just wasting a spot. The match against Costa Rica, they started Tim Ream, Walker Zimmerman, and Miles Robinson on the back line, and Zach Steffen in goal. I know Zach Steffen's in good form, so he's going to try and break into the first team again. But I just feel like those 3 guys getting called up it's just wasting everyone's time. I mean, like call up some like 20-year-old, 21-year-old that's fringe MLS, but has the potential. Like there were Marko Miljevic, or Matko, I definitely butchered that last name, but he got called up and missed a penalty. I was very unimpressed from him. He also got cut from Montreal in MLS because he played in a adults men's leagues under a fake alias, fought a guy, and just chaos. So he's playing in Argentina now. Absolute chaos. Gotta love U.S. soccer, even though that's technically Canadian. But
oh my god, bring that is the kind of story we need.
I mean,
and this is the thing, right? Is that to me, that's the kind of thing that comes to mind when I hear the same way that typical US soccer fans will absolutely bag on CONCACAF, like, oh, CONCACAF, all this stuff going on that's just, so standard CONCACAF. You guys are just as bad half the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a great story, I think. That's
a hilarious story.
But one of the players that did stand out, I'm also going to butcher this last name, so I do apologize. Patrick Agyemang, I think so you say it. That's not the right one. He came out of college, been with Charlotte. He scored a couple of goals. He's 24. He's only played a couple of years in MLS. I'm intrigued to know how much he's going to really get an opportunity with the first team, because US is a spot where they have a few guys at striker, like Pepe, like Florian Balogun. So who really knows what happens there? Diego Luna, did you see what happened to him in the it was the Costa Rica one? He broke his nose, started bleeding, and then came back on the pitch with 2 cotton sticks, I don't know what you call it, shoved up his nose to stop the bleeding, and then immediately assisted the first goal. So, I mean, Diego Luna, USL Championship legend, former El Paso Locomotive player, and former Barca Residency Academy player. But again, these friendlies kind of do feel like a waste of time at the end of the day, because nobody goes, and there's very few bright spots. A lot of guys in there that, like Brian White was the striker for the one match. He's 28. He's probably, his career's plateauing before it gets any better. I don't know. It's just pointless, to be honest.
Thank you, Rees, for that thorough review. Make sure to leave a like for that great analysis from our very own Rees Goodall. Yep. Leave it with a little hot dog down there. Well, you know what? After the break, we've got a special little bit of news for you to talk, a bit of analysis to talk about. Rumor has it maybe even a bit more enthusiastic from Rees than his analysis of the US men's national team January camp. But while there may not have been many bright spots on that national team camp, if it's bright outside, you might need to use some of those shady rays. Of course, Max swears by them. I've seen him. They actually hold up pretty good durable, but when they didn't, he managed to get him replaced as well with that guarantee.
Wasn't it Juan Guerra that broke him?
It was Juan Guerra that managed to break Max's shady rays. This man, Max was bringing them around everywhere on this trip. It was pitch black outside. He's still going to have the shady rays because they look good.
They do.
I know. And it's all about the look. But they are quality shades built to last. They're premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. They produce a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people with hundreds of options to choose from. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head over to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And of course, it's still basketball season at the moment, isn't it? Still basketball season. So, one of the good places to go and watch Phoenix Suns games, Phoenix Suns watch parties, head on over to Spinato's. They are the official pizza of the Suns, and their watch parties feature the Phoenix Suns dancers. They get the gorilla out there, and they're also doing at the moment a basketball kind of horse contest, but they're doing it as pizza. They're spelling out pizza instead. You any good?
I don't know.
Rees will probably not succeed in that one,
way to
but
find out.
You may well do both the parties and the contest. Give fans a chance to win free Suns tickets and free pizza, as well as the Phoenix Suns getting into this kind of final couple of month stretch of the regular season. Got to see if they can get things going. Get all the info on the watch parties and the pizza basketball contest at spinatospizzeria.com. Spinato's the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. And I kind of gotta say it, I'm surprised that, well, not surprised that when pizza came in here, Max just didn't do it, did he? He didn't bring it on a day that we were here.
I'm not surprised. Max. I'm disgusted, but I'm not surprised.
That's exactly what it is. I bet you he ordered a disgusting one as well, because we know Max finished bottom of the snake draft. I actually won that one just about over Kyle, but Kyle putting up a very, very respectable performance. Rees, a pretty decent performance as well, to be fair. And then Max just languishing in like...
Absolutely. I mean, Mushroom second round.
Thank you, viewers, who really panned him for that one.
Yeah. I mean,
he deserves it.
Again, Mushroom second round. I mean, what are we doing?
Absolutely disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. But you know what? Since he's not here, we're talking about some real sport again now. It's time to get the darts going.
Let's go.
The Winmore World Masters coming up this
Winmore
weekend.
World Masters.
He's just really emphasizing the title sponsor there because he knows this is going to wind Max up. New format for this one. First time it's a ranking tournament. The reigning champion coming in is Stephen the Bullet Bunting.
The People's Champion and the Masters Champion.
Playing this one in Milton Keynes. Aren't you... No, I was going to say, aren't you, disappointed you're not in Milton Keynes this weekend? I
think that might be the only time anyone's ever said they're disappointed to not be in Milton Keynes.
I mean, it's Milton Keynes. I'm not giving Milton Keynes a particularly great review, but we love the darts on this podcast, don't we, Rees? We're actually spending a full 10 minutes talking about the darts because we love the darts so much on this podcast. Don't we love the darts, Kyle?
Yeah, you guys made me a darts fan.
Exactly. We love the darts. We love the darts. Well, you know what? I think we should kick things off, of course, with so many big matchups. I think a good place to start would be, let's just get an idea of who the favorites are here going into the World Masters. Here, you have a look. Luke Littler at the moment is the favorite. He is at plus 200. Luke Humphreys, cool hand Luke, in at plus 450. Michael Van Gerwen, maybe a little bit of a steal at plus 900 there. Gerwin Price, Stephen Bunting, the defending champion, of course, both on plus 1,000. Gary Anderson at plus 1,200. Rob Cross plus 1,800. A few other bits there. And remember, of course, those odds coming from our friends at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 or older and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Right. Reese, how are we feeling about those? Who to me is being overlooked here? I think it's Michael Van Gerwen.
I think it has to be. I really think Van Gerwen has he's got Bradley
MVG,
Brooks in the
Mighty
first round,
Mike.
and then he's got either Gary Anderson or Demi Vandenberg in the second round. And then after that, I really think he kind of has an easy path to the semifinal if he can get past that Gary Anderson, Demi Vandenberg. That first round matchup.
Well, that's the
is
test,
be
isn't it? Because Gary Anderson didn't have a very good World Championship, but he did have a very good overall 2024. The Flying Scotsman, of course, a former world champion himself. It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, if it gets through to it, Dave Chisnell, Nathan Aspinall possibly down the line for him. Chizzy, big Mr. Miscount there.
Not backing Cameron Menzies.
I don't know if I'm backing Cameron Menzies in this one. Cameron Menzies making it through the prelims. Nathan Aspinall still struggling a little bit with that dartitis.
Yeah.
Not ideal for him, though. Speaking of reasonable runs to late stages, you'd expect it for Luke Littler. He is currently the bookies' favourite. He is the number 2 in the world at the moment. He is the world champion at the moment. Starting off with Andy Baitens, but you look at who the seeds that he could possibly hit as he goes down the line. James Wade in the second round. After that, he'd probably play either Johnny Clayton or Chris Dobie. Possibly Ryan Searley in there as well. Chris Dobie, obviously, with kind of had a pretty decent run in the World Championship.
Got into the Premier League.
Got himself a spot in the Premier League as a result of that. And but it feels as though that's a very, very straightforward in some ways. I don't know who's the guy who steps up in those moments out of those three.
I think that James Wade-Mike De Decker match is going to be very good. I mean, De Decker was a good Worlds run away from making the Premier League. He had a good year last year. I do think that match is going to be good, but I also think the winner of that has to play Luke Littler, and I think Luke Littler continuously rises to another level out of nowhere. Even when he seems like he's not playing that well, he drops a few legs. In this case, sets. He still somehow finds a way to turn it on just like that and return to that scoring, return to that finishing that you see. So I think a run for him is going to be fairly straightforward.
The quarter of the draw that really intrigues me is that second quarter of the draw, right? I just think that there are a couple of, maybe there's an upset I can see in the first round there of sorts, but I don't know if you can even fully call it an upset, to be honest. Danny Noppert against Michael Smith.
Yeah.
In that one, Michael Smith, a former world champion as well. He's unseeded for this tournament.
That's weird to see.
The winner of that game will play Rob Cross or William O'Connor. Rob Cross, fresh off of winning a tournament over in the Netherlands, and of course, he's been he's fourth in the world at the moment. It hasn't necessarily been his best year in a lot of ways, but you have had elements of, he's still fourth in the world. He's still getting it done. Stephen Bunting in that quarter of the draw as well. He'll be playing Willie Borland in the first round. Stephen Bunting, defending champion and number 5 seed for this one. Against Peter Wright, number 12, presuming they both get through to the second round. That'll be a rematch for a World Championship quarterfinal from this year. Peter Wright playing Kevin Deutz in the first round.
That Kevin Deutz is fun to watch. He had a decent run in the Worlds. I mean, Peter Wright, though, also did himself. I mean, I don't think anyone really expected him to play as well as he did, and then he beats Luke Humphries, reigning world champion, number 1.
What a showing.
That was amazing. Amazing.
I know. And then you look at the other quarter of the draw that we haven't fully discussed here, but Luke Humphries, he hasn't had the best start to the year.
No.
And I think there's a risk here. Joe Cullen, his first round opponent. Joe Cullen, obviously a pretty high-level player himself, isn't seeded for this tournament, but that doesn't mean the guy's not capable of pulling off an upset like this.
Yeah, Cullen's been kind of hit or miss this past year. He had not a great Worlds, but he had a very good match against Gerwin Price, which he fell in. Again, though, Luke Humphries, I'm surprised to see Luke Humphries at plus 450 on that odds list, just because I don't think Humphries is on that good enough form.
Well, that's the problem. He struggled. Struggled. We've seen him struggle now for a few tournaments where it's just not really happening for him.
I mean, again, this is a sport where you can turn it on just like that, but I don't think that's on this scale of a tournament. You'll see that at, like, the smaller ones. And then, I mean, if he does get past Joe Cullen, is Josh Rock or Jermaine Watamena? That could be a test.
That's
too.
another one that, to me, is very hard to call. Jermaine Watamena, a very consistent player on the Pro Tour last year. Obviously, someone who did win his first round match in the Dutch tournament this past weekend. Look, I think he's someone who could realistically pull off an upset like Josh Rock. in a tournament like this. Further down, the other players in games in this particular quarter of the draw: Damon Heta, the Aussie, playing Ross Smith, and Gerwin Price against Florian Hempel. I don't know who gets out of this quarter of the draw. To be honest, this is that's a very, very interesting part of the draw. I tell you what, it's going to be a weekend of darting action since Phoenix Rising won't give us an open friendly to watch.
We got to watch the darts.
You watching the darts? You're getting up to watch the darts?
Absolutely.
I'm getting up to watch the darts. Kyle, we need to get you watching the darts.
Yeah, what time?
I think it's like 11th. I think there's one more.
What time does it start? Tomorrow? What are the games tomorrow? 12 o'clock tomorrow start. What a start. With Josh Rock against Jermaine Watimena as well.
Beautiful.
For the opener. Stephen Bunting, Willie Borland later on in the day. Luke Humphreys, Joe Cullen. There's some good games tomorrow. Danny Noppert against Michael Smith, the Nightcap. I think
that could be a very good one.
That could be a very interesting game.
Yeah.
Stand up if you love the darts. Thank you, James Wilson. We do. Stand up, Rees.
Got it.
There we go. He's standing up. You standing up, Kyle? Kyle loves the darts. We're all standing up for the darts. Yeah. All right. You can sit down again now. Move on before Reese starts chanting about the Torres again. But yeah, exciting times. I tell you what, that got more energy out of us than the US men's national team January camp, didn't it?
I mean, it's the darts.
Who doesn't love the darts?
It's the best sport in the world. It's just. I mean, why
don't we start a PHNX darts podcast? I think that's the real question here.
I mean, let's just rebrand this one.
Sorry, Phoenix Rising. We're a darts podcast now. No, I'm not sure that's quite going to happen, but we'll.
Do you think Max would sell the darts podcast? You think you could convince him to sell it?
I think we could convince Max. I think we could. There's got to be some very
huge darts
niche darts sponsors we could get for this. You know?
I mean, we'd probably be the biggest darts podcast in America.
We'd be one of, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, there aren't many.
Yeah, so probably if we got like 10 viewers,
I've already said that Max has got to get us sent up there, because our friends at Bet365 are the title sponsor for the US Darts Masters. He's got to get me sent up there.
In New York, yeah.
Why isn't Max sorting this for me?
I don't know. He's on vacation again.
He's on vacation again. Thank you, Mr. Vacations, Max. Well, if you need to check out what Max is doing online and where he's gone on vacation this week, remember, you can find him on Twitter at Max David Simpson. You can follow me on Twitter at OJEvans18. Reese is Reese11_. And I haven't done this for a while, so it's K-Coop Sports, isn't it, Carl?
That's correct.
There we go. I got it correct. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at PHNX__rising. It's double the underscores. Who's going to take it?
Double the darts this weekend.
Double the darts this weekend. There we go. Ready for what tournament is it, Reese?
The Winmore, what is it? World Masters? Winmore World Masters, is that right?
Yeah.
Winmore, right?
Yeah. He keeps saying the title sponsor because
I'm
he knows
just making sure I'm pronouncing it right.
There we go. He's prospecting.
I am
for the
prospecting.
upcoming PHNX Darts podcast. He's prospecting. Yeah. But yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll be back next week on Wednesday. So same time, same place.
More darts talk.
I'm sure we'll need to break down what happened at the Darts Masters. We'll also need to break down any more signings that Phoenix Rising are making as well.
Darts. Premier League starts next week. I didn't realize that.
That's Premier League. Yeah.
Love that.
I know. Who's winning it this year?
Stephen Bunting.
The bullet. The people's champ is winning everything.
Absolutely.
To be fair, he's made 2 finals out of 2 tournaments this year.
Well, I mean, last year in the Players Championships, he made like 5 or 6 finals. He didn't. I think he might have won just one.
No, he didn't win any.
It's just. I mean, he's good at getting to finals. He just needs to push it over and win more. But I didn't even mean it like that. But that's just.
You're just doing this to deliberately bait Max.
I didn't even mean that one. That's just excellent, though. I can't even.
We're going to have to clip some of these, I think, and send them to Max and watch the poor guy have a heart attack. Yeah, that's about drawing us, I think, to a conclusion here, isn't it?
I think so.
We're still going to drag this out for about another minute, though. So, any last thoughts, Reese, for the people?
Miles Lewis Skelly shouldn't have been sent off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Any follow-up there, Kyle?
I actually didn't. I saw the second red, but I didn't see the first.
You didn't see it?
I did not.
I thought you were an Arsenal fan. This has been the only thing Arsenal fans have been crying about for about a week. Well, close to a week. Not a full week.
4 days.
Yeah, but it's
Feels
felt
like
like a
every
week
few weeks
because
there's some foul.
Yeah, well, I mean,
about.
it's like the 5th decision to go against us that like it's just terrible.
And here we go. Tinfoil hat Rees.
Well,
over
no,
here.
I mean, you have to look at some of these. It's ridiculous. Like the penalty against Brighton, the clash of heads that was like nothing. Giving a penalty for that was absurd. The 2 second yellows for kicking the ball away, ridiculous. Which I know it's technically in the rule book, but no one gives that card. And what was the other one? Oh, the Saliba red card was ridiculous too.
And you know what's not ridiculous? The fact that we're about to sign it off on this because,
Yes.
you know, we've had a nice little Rees rant there.
Love it.
Remember, of course, to join us next Wednesday at 6 o'clock when we will be right back here to break down all the latest Phoenix Rising and darts news. We'll see you then.